In high school basketball, there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of underrated players. Now, whether that's because they're at a bad school or getting overshadowed by an even better player, there's a lot of reasons. So today, I'm just here to tell you the top 5 most underrated players in high school basketball. In basketball, you may be really good, but you also may be really underlooked and undervalued. And today, we're going to be talking about 5 players that are very underrated. But before we get into this video, this is the part 2 to the series I'm doing, and I asked for 1,000 likes for part 2, and you guys absolutely killed it on the last video and got over 2,000 likes. With that being said, if you guys want to see a part 3 to this series, let's aim for 1,500 likes. I feel like we can do that, so let's get it. That's a lot of likes, but I definitely feel like we can do it because you guys have been absolutely crushing it recently. And oh yeah, I just want to clear this up before we dive into this video. There was a lot of comments on the recent video saying, oh, if they're a 4 or 5 star recruit, they're not underrated. And yes, I completely understand what you guys are saying, but even though they are 4 and 5 star recruits, they're still underlooked. And they're not getting a lot of hype and attention from other places, so that's why we're covering these guys. We're covering people that no one really talks about, but they're really good, so that's the reason. Alright, that's enough talking. So without further ado, let's get into the video. We got the top 5 most underrated basketball players of all time. Let's do this. Coming in at number 5, we have a 6'1", 160-pound point guard known as RJ Davis. Davis is a 4-star recruit and ranked the 43rd best overall player in the country. And oh yeah, we can't forget to mention he's a McDonald's All-American as well. So how come no one's giving him any hype? The main reason he's not getting a lot of attention is because he's not as big as the other point guards in his class. When he was just a freshman, he was already putting on a show. For his varsity team, he averaged 15 points per game, 3.5 assists, and 4.8 rebounds. So yeah, that's not too bad for a freshman playing on the varsity level. And as good as those numbers are, it gets even better. The year after, as just a sophomore, he jumped his points per game up to 20.8. And he also jumped up his assists and rebounds to 6 and roughly 5.8. And he wasn't just putting up great numbers on a bad team. His team had an overall record of 27-5 that year. So flash forward in time to his senior year, he produced once again. And even though he was putting up these great numbers, he still wasn't receiving a lot of attention and nobody really knows why. So let's flash forward in time to his senior year, and this is where it got even better. In 24 games played, he averaged a whopping 26.5 points per game. And he also pitched in 5 assists and 8 rebounds, so this guy was an overall great player. And he wound up having a lot of offers, but in a long recruiting process, he wound up deciding to sign with North Carolina. And all in all, Davis had an outstanding high school career. He scored right at 2,446 career points. And he's not just satisfied and content with signing with North Carolina. Here's what he had to say. Not being able to finish my senior year and go out and win a city championship is disappointing. But I've had to tell myself why not be happy and satisfied with all the awards I've received. Being the all-time leading scorer and the first McDonald's All-American in my city is great. So it's obvious that this kid's hungry and he wants to continue to get better as a basketball player. And here's what one of his coaches even said about him. I think he performed on a national and state and local level every night. He didn't disappoint the fans or disappoint our team anytime he stepped on the floor. This was all earned. It was not given. He's worked extremely hard as a freshman until now. I think Davis is going to have a great career at North Carolina and he's going to surprise a lot of people. So with RJ Davis being a 4-star recruit and a McDonald's All-American that nobody's really even talking about, this is why he comes in at number 5 on our list. Coming in at number 4 on our list, we have a 6'6" small forward known as Marjan Huge Ham. Beauchamp is also rated a 4-star recruit and ranked in the top 50 in his class. When he was just a freshman in high school, he played on the same team as Michael Porter Jr. And he didn't play a lot on this team because they was absolutely stacked and wound up going 29-0. But as a sophomore, he wound up transferring once again to Garfield High School in Seattle. And he wound up moving to this school because this is where his former head coach went to. And once again, they had another outstanding year and wound up winning the Class 6A state championship. And I guess he wasn't comfortable there either. He wound up transferring once again. He wound up moving to Rainier Beach and led his team to a league and district titles. And he was actually named the most valuable player of the Seattle 3A Metro League. And during this season, he averaged 26 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. Those are really outstanding numbers, and I think it's fair to say this guy had a very bumpy high school career. And once again for his senior year, he transferred for the 4th and final time. He wound up transferring to the Dream City Christian School in Glendale, Arizona, and had another pretty solid year. I don't think he received a lot of attention because he was just always on the move and he never settled down at one spot. And at one point in his career, he was even regarded as a 5-star recruit. And with his high school career coming to an end, he actually announced on April 20th in 2020 that he was going to forego college basketball. And matter of fact, he actually announced that he was going to join the Chameleon BX program to prepare for the 2021 NBA draft. And here's what he had to say about his decision. I think it's better, the training and living a pro life for the whole 12 months. I think it will prepare me for more than college. And no one really talks about this guy because he's had such an up and down bumpy high school and even pro career as of now. Even though he's had struggles off the court with transferring all the time, I think he's a really great player and he needs to be getting more attention than he is right now. Out of all the players in this group, I definitely think he's the biggest sleeper. So with Beauchamp being a 4-star recruit who once was a 5-star recruit and getting no love and attention whatsoever, this is why it comes in at number 4 on our list. Coming in at number 3 on our list, we have another strange and just weird name known as Jaime Brakefield. Jaime is a 6'8", 215 power forward and he's also ranked a 4-star recruit. When he was just a sophomore, yes, a sophomore in high school, he wound up winning West Virginia Basketball Player of the Year. And during his season, he averaged a remarkable 19.7 points per game, 7.2 rebounds, and 3.3 assists. And here's what a coach from an opposing team had to say about him. I think Jaime Brakefield is going to be a superstar. He's long, he's athletic, he shoots the ball really well. He can get to the rim and he can defend multiple positions. He's a matchup problem wherever you put him on the floor. That is very high praise, especially coming from an opposing coach. And as a sophomore, he was actually ranked as the number 10 overall recruit. But ever since then, he's kind of fallen off and it has nothing to do with his game, it's just other players have passed him. And a little fun fact to throw in there, he's also very smart. He had a 3.25 GPA. Well, I guess we're gonna have 2 fun facts for this video because I actually just found this out as well. Brakefield has actually volunteered a ton of times and especially at the Ronald McDonald's House Charities. We just gotta give credit where credit is due. What a great guy. And he had a great sophomore year. He won Player of the Year, but as a junior and a senior, he really didn't improve that much more. He basically just put up very similar numbers, so that's why I think he fell in the rankings a little. And when he started to fall and he wasn't producing as much as people thought he would, that's when he really lost all of his hype and attention. So people really don't talk about this guy and they haven't talked about him since 2018. But do not let that fool you because he just recently signed with Duke and this is a great pickup for them. He's a 6'8" power forward that can literally do almost a little bit of everything. And the way Duke plays and how fast they're always moving the ball, I think he's going to fit into the system just right. So with Brakefield being a guy who won Player of the Year at one time and still putting up great numbers but not just getting talked about anymore, this is why he comes in at number 3 on our list. Coming in at number 2 on our list, we have a fan favorite out of this 5. We have no other than Skye Clark. Skye Clark is a point guard who is 6'2" and weighs 200 pounds, so this guy's built. And oh yeah, he's also a 5-star recruit and ranked in the top 20 in his class. And I already know some of you are like, yo, he's a 5-star, he's not underrated. But just hear me out. He's a 5-star ranked 20th, but I feel like he should be ranked in the top 5 or top 10, so he can still be underrated even though he's in the top 20, guys. So just hear me out and let me explain. As just a freshman starting for his varsity team, he put up great numbers. He averaged 14.5 points per game, which is impressive. But not only that, he averaged 6.9 assists per game. Those 2 stats are really impressive, but listen to this. He averaged right at 6 rebounds and 4.6 steals per game. Skye Clark is the definition of a stat stuffer. He can do it all. And keep in mind, he was just a freshman that year. As a sophomore, he really showed everybody that he can score the ball. In 31 games played, he wound up averaging 25.5 per game. And his other stats were great as well. He averaged 4 assists per game, 5 rebounds, and 2.5 steals. As a sophomore, guys, averaging 25.5 points per game as a true point guard, that's completely insane. Point guards are meant to run the show and pass the ball and get others involved, not drop 25 every night. But hey, this guy don't care. He told his coach, I gotta go get mine, and that's what he's doing. This guy is a definition of an offensive juggernaut. He's scoring 25 a game and he's doing it at a very efficient rate. During this last season, he shot 81 for 200 on 3-pointers. For you guys that can't do basic math, that means he shot 40% from deep. That's really good. It's just so strange because he literally plays like he's a senior in high school, but yet he's only a sophomore. One night he even had 35 points and shot 72% from the field. That's extremely efficient. And the reason he's so good and he deserves to be at least in the top 10 is because of this. He's double teamed almost every game now, but he's still putting up 25. And all of the shots he makes are always always contested and he has a lot of defenders around him. But he's a straight up shooter. He has a very quick release and he doesn't need any space to get his shot off. And with being 6'2" and 200 pounds, he's also not a light point guard. He can attack the goal and push people out of the way. And if his shooting wasn't good enough for you, just look at his handles. He's got the ball on a string. I could go on and on about this guy, so let me just stop where I'm at. You guys get the point. This kid can absolutely ball and he does a lot of things really great out there. So with Skye Clark being a top 20 player and a 5-star recruit, I just still feel like he's way too underrated. He should at least be in the top 10. So this is why he comes in at number 2 on our list. Now the moment you guys have all been waiting for, we have made it to the number 1 and final spot. And like I stated earlier in this video, if you want to see a part 3 of this series, let's kill it and aim for 1,500 likes, because hey, this is honestly my favorite series I've ever done on my channel. Alright, we have made it, and the 4 players we have previously talked about, they're great players, but I feel like this guy is the most underrated out of this group. So with all that being said, let's get into our final player. Coming in at number 1 on our top 5 most underrated high school basketball players list, we have Temari Burnett. Burnett comes in at 6'3" and weighing 190 pounds, and oh yeah, he's also a McDonald's All-American. And just like a couple of our other players, he's a 5-star recruit and has a 93 overall grade, but he's only ranked the 22nd best player in his class. And for me, that's almost disrespectful for how good this guy is. In the class of 2020, he is arguably the best shooter. From the start, this guy was a winner. He won the middle school championship as an 8th grader, so everyone knew he was up next. Heading into high school, he wound up playing his basketball at Morgan Park High School in Chicago. And he wound up helping lead his team to a Class 3A state title and scored 20 points in the championship. But heading into his sophomore year, he wound up transferring and attending Prolific Prep. And as a sophomore, he actually broke his hand and missed quite a bit of the season, so he didn't put up that great of numbers. But as a junior, he came back strong and proved he was one of the best players. For his junior season, he wound up averaging right at 20 points per game. And this was very impressive because Prolific Prep, they're a powerhouse, so there's a lot of players that gotta score. So heading into his senior year, it seemed as if he was getting overshadowed, but he still put up great numbers. He wound up averaging 25.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. And those are outstanding, but still nobody was talking about him. Even though he was getting a ton of love from colleges, just overall, fans and media weren't giving him any attention. He wound up being selected to the McDonald's All-American game and the Jordan Brand Classic game. And even though us as fans and a lot of mixtape companies weren't covering this guy, a lot of colleges still wanted him. But ultimately, he wound up slimming down his options and chose Texas Tech. And like I told you guys, he's a winner, and here's what someone even had to say about him. Temari is the ultimate winner. He's our true leader on and off the court. He's an unselfish player who can run a team and score at all 3 levels. He embraces guarding the other team's best player, which is fitting with Texas Tech. Temari is the coach's dream, and I can honestly say this kid is a coach's dream. He can be the primary scorer for the team, and he can also guard the best player on the other team. And if you're a coach, what more can you ask for? He can also handle the ball really efficiently, and he could probably run point guard if you wanted him to. He's nothing close to LeBron James, but his playstyle is kind of like LeBron's. He can dish, pass, and he can also score when he wants to. He's an overall great playmaker, and he can do it all, and I have no idea why nobody is talking about him. Out of all the 5 players we're covering in today's video, I definitely feel like he has the most potential, and he is still the most slept on. So this is why Temari Burnett comes in at number 1 on our list. We've covered a lot of great players in this video, and even though they're 4 and 5-star recruits, they're still underlooked and undervalued. Now yes, I get it, some players are rated high, but even though they're ranked in the top 20 and top 40, I still feel like it's way too underrated. And I can almost guarantee you that you haven't heard of many of these players in this video. But I'm just here to tell you it's not going to be like that for long because they're up next. So even though these 5 guys are underrated and we're still sleeping on some of them, it's not going to be for long because we need to wake up and realize they got next. But hey man, with all this being said, that's about gonna wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. If you are new to the channel, what are you doing? Join the family, hit that subscribe button, and leave a like for more. And like I said guys, 1,500 likes for part 3. I love you guys. Thank you for all the support. And as always, let's be great. I'm out y'all. Peace.